listeners. How are you today? How about my co-host?
We're very fine, of course. It's such a good day.
By the way, do you know what will our topic be today?
Oh yes, the title of our podcast today is Naked Truth. First up, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Jocelyn Gumabon.
I am Mark Labita.
I am John Obra.
And I am Rico Cabangon, and this is podcast FM 89.9.
For today's topic, we are going to talk about something not commonly known to most people. What is it again, Rico?
It's about constructive criticism.
It's not common. It's not common nowadays, right? People don't really know what is all about.
Yes, and just for a short intro about what we'll discuss today, this is related about our own opinions.
Opinions? Like for example, if I prefer the color pink more than the color blue.
Yes, something like that. But this one is more detailed and gives us more time to think logically instead of just basing it on our interests.
Then I guess that's a bit interesting.
Later, we will have a guest. She is Marilyn Romantao, whom graduated in Our Lady of Fatima University and is a Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English.
We are going to ask her some questions related to our topic, which I am sure she'll be able to answer.
So now, let's start our podcast. Once again, this is podcast FM 89.9, Uncovering Naked Truth.
So, of course, we are going to talk about what is constructive criticism. But before that, what is opinion?
Opinion that have different meanings. This is the meaning that say that opinion or beliefs or attitude that is not based on fact.
It can be also of conclusion held and confidence, but not supposed to be positive or proof knowledge.
There really are different meanings. However, those two meanings that Miss Obra and Mr. Rico have given just means the same thing. It means saying something that isn't based on the truth itself.
But what is the difference with constructive criticism?
Constructive criticism is by far more complex than anyone thinks. From the two words, there's the think more common word which is criticism. Some people define this as a negative commentary about something. Okay, there is also this meaning that say that is a critical judgment. It can also be a comment, review, or anything that a person say, but with analysis.
So basically, the difference between the two of them is that opinion are subjective, while criticism are objective. Am I right?
From what I understand, I think it is. If the same meaning is applied and in a correct way, like for example, if I say that I like color blue, there is no basis for it because it doesn't hold any proof. I mean, it's just one of my interests and everybody have their own likes and dislikes.
For criticism, it could be either be positive or negative and with evidence. Like for example, if someone says that the song he or she just listened to is not that good, this can be more positive by adding more analytic comments in what he or she said. Like for example, if the beat is a little off or the instruments are not matching when they are combined, or if the lyrics of the song itself doesn't hold any meaning. He or she can also cite sources mentioning how a good music should be. That is criticism. But if that person says that he or she just doesn't like the song or not his or her cup of tea but mentions that is criticizing comment, I guess that just adapts the meaning of criticism in a wrong way.
But what is the connection of all this to our title?
Well, Rico, today we are actually detectives.
Detectives? I never heard of this before.
By the meaning of detectives, we are going to uncover the truth. Today, we are going to review some comments in social media and tell whether these are actually an opinion or a constructive criticism.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
And by doing this, we are uncovering the meaning of these comments that people keeps on saying. Just like what I mentioned a while ago, there is this criticism these guys' comments that are not real, that logical.
Well, I bet our listeners are now itching to hear how are we going to start. So let's begin our podcast.
Today, we are going to investigate one previous issue that brought the netizens an uproar, and that is the Christine de Serras case.
That case was horrible.
And that's an opinion, right?
Of course, it is an opinion.
Many people kept on talking about the way how Christine de Serra actually died. Some people have even been theory that are even bit interesting.
Really? But why would they do that?
You know how people likes to gossips, especially Filipinos. We like hearing lot of different things and making it up simple for a thrill.
Well, without further ado, let's get started so we can review more of the comments recently. I've joined a group in Facebook for this specific matter.
What kind of Facebook group, Jill?
You know, one of those groups where people can stop talking about the case even if it's not their position to do so. Well, we have our own opinions, so I guess that's a bit okay. The Facebook group is actually for conspiracy theories.
That's kind of common for Filipinos, since most of us likes to gossip.
You're making a hasty generalization, Mark. Even John a while ago, haha.
Oh yeah, right, sorry.
Me too.
Okay, so let's get started. The first comment of our netizens that we have gathered is this: "Pabib-bib ka pa, hinalikan nitin si Baklang Valentin, hindi nga pumalag. Ano kayang nararamdaman mo na biib ka? Namatay na lang bigla yung wala naman sakit sakit na tao, isip-isip tayo." Do you think this is a sound argument?
No, I don't think so.
And how did you say so?
We can clearly see that she is attacking the person itself. She said there that isip-isip tayo. So this is like implying that the other person that he is not really thinking of what he's doing.
Actually, there is a policy for that, ad hominem, wherein they try to attack the person instead of the argument of a person, and to make it more worse, these netizens attack either the person or the arguments without any conclusive evidence.
Indeed. Most of them just rely from the CCTV footage that was shown to the public.
And yet, these people attack the person in suspects.
So I guess we can conclude that's not a sound argument, right? In my own criticism for what she said, she should have provided more evidence that person she is talking about is not really thinking of what he's doing. So moving on to another comment, I can already see that this an ad hominem policy.
Yes, I can see it too. Sagad sa buto ang kawalanghiyaan, maitim na budhi. This is really a direct attack. She is simplified that person have a very bad attitude. In simple definition, she is saying this just because of one incident.
And furthermore, she doesn't have any evidence to clarify that person is indeed a bad person. I do believe personally that even everyone is a bad person. There are just circumstances that make one, but he is not necessarily is bad.
Just like we've mentioned from the previous one, she should try to reason out if she thinks that person is bad. It's never enough to judge a person just because of one thing he did. Moreover, it's not even proven that they did it, since I know they're pertaining to more than one person, right?
Yes,
Let's move on to the next comment. This comment is another netizen, and it says, "You are a nurse. Dapat nag-call na kayo ng ambulance. Walang kwenta ang profession mo. Alam mo na she is in sick. Hospital is the best cure of poisoning. Maraming antidote doon sa hospital. Yung pagsusuka ni Tin, sign of symptoms yun na nilason."
At first glance, it does look away. However, it is still attacking the people behind it. Specifically, the people whom were with Christine at the time of her death. She said, walang kwenta ang profesyon mo. And even said that yung pagsusuka, sign and symptoms ng lason.
This comment is very assuming. Even if I'm not sure, even if I'm not a nurse, I know they also have their own protocols as to when to bring a person to a hospital. According to emergency essentials, moving a bad person when he is injured could be proven far worse and may lessen the person's chance of survival. They did move Christine, but we don't know their motive at that time since we're not there.
Also, that comment that assumes that a person is poisoned just because of vomiting is not the plausible. Aside from attacking the person in question's profession, this part can be considered as a bait rate fallacy, which states that the most probable argument will win the situation given at hand. We will talk more about that later.
So, moving on to our next comment. Actually, there are two comments here. The first one says, "Go to hell mga bakla," and the second one says, "Hoy mga bakla, wag kayong magsaya, buisit, makulong na sana kayo."
They clearly say this opinion again without any relevance.
This is the same like the previous one wherein the comment are meant for the person they're talking about.
However, we can also put another hasty generalization fallacy.
How so?
Well, because they keep on saying mga bakla instead of just mentioning the name of the person who they talking about. It's like not stating the obvious, but it's not still needed to further strengthen what you're saying. And if they say it like this, the LGBT community will also affected.
Yes, that sound a bit more logically. It's very unfair to say mga bakla. They even talking about this case for a long period of time already, so they should know their names.
So, moving on to our next comment, we have here from this netizens that says, "Bali-baligtarin man ng mundo, lalaki ang mga yan, kahit na panlabas niya babae, yan na. Ang ugaling bakla pahamak sa kapwa. Marami sa kanila ang ugali, kaya wag mo kayong agad magtitiwala sa mga yan. Doble karaig nga, kumpon ng mga demonyo, lalo na pag nakainom ng mga alak. Pag nakatawa, bigay na bigay. Misirang mga utak, kaya magsasalita sila pa iba-iba kasi iba-iba ang moods at mga bats or budding like."
Another nasty generalization from the netizens' comment. You can clearly see here that she said that ang ugaling bakla pahamak sa kapwa. It's not necessarily the gay people. We have already said this on the previous comment.
Take a breather, Mark.
Yes, I know. It's just that if it were me, I would rather not say anything, since anything can be a fallacy as long as I don't have very strong evidence. Sometimes even a CCTV footage can never be enough.
The last part from what she said is quite funny. I mean, she's trying to imply that gay people have bad attitude. Not everyone is an LGBT supporter, but we should always respect everyone at very least.
Yes, and if they happen to be in the same situation, they will also be the part, and refuting will just mean more arguments than nonsense.
We don't seem to get any sound argument today, don't we?
I do think we have found one a while ago. Let me read it for you and our listener. Sa panahon ngayon, mahirap talaga magtiwala sa kahit sinong tao. At kung magtitiwala man sa kaibigan, dapat piliin lang ang kakaibiganin natin. May aral sa atin ng nangyari kay Christine Lacera, huwag kayong may pag-party na nag-isa. Ka na babae, din puro lalaki na lahat. Mag-isip ka lalo na kung bata't maganda ka pa, sexy, matakot mag-isip mo ng advance.
That's a sound argument.
Well, I mean, she's not attacking anyone. She's just trying to say that everyone should be careful nowadays. And it is needed too. Even if not about the same scenario, everyone should be careful every day.
Well, moving on to our next netizen's comment. Declare, this comment some from different persons. Patay na si Christine dyan. Patay na po si Christine nung nilabas sa room 2209. based sa mga pasa sa katawan niya. Patay na si Christine dyan, kaya matigas na. Ilang oras na siyang patay bago siya dyan nilabas. Sa ilang oras na yan, nakaisip na sila kung paano nila gagawin yung paglinis sa kaso. At yung nagtatalo sa hallway na nahagip sa CCTV, mga ganong oras yon. Yan na dapat ang alamin.
That is what we call best rate policy, wherein people are assuming the more probable argument on what they have witnessed or seen without being even there at the time it happened.
Kind of like when your parents accuse you for going out late at night, even when you didn't.
I don't quite get it. Actually, I never heard of this fallacy before.
Most commonly, this policy is used for statistics, and from the post where these comments were taken, there's a leaked CCTV footage of what happened to Christine Daceras at the time. People are trying to reason out that from then on, Christine had already been dead since it's what they saw, and it's the most probable argument from what that the point they're trying to get at.
I think I get it. Like for example, if we are gonna place a probability if Christine really died at this moment on the CCTV footage, there could also be a probability that she didn't.
Exactly.
So basically these people are assuming that because of the leaked CCTV footage, Christine is dead. In that time when in fact, she could also be alive.
Yes, because it is what they only have seen. Even if Christine Daceras is already dead now, we are talking about that moment in the CCTV footage, whether she is in dead at the moment or not, and no one's know the truth. So it's kind of wrong to assume that someone is dead at the time when in fact she could also be alive.
Here's another comment from one of the netizens. Ito po ang nasa isip ko. Alam lang na droga si or pinagsalamantala nito at nag-aagaw na tirap na sa paghinga. At sabi pa nga ng basketballista na inalagaan pa daw niya si Christine. Pero takot silang lahat dalhin sa ospital ng mga oras na yun kasi dami silang lahat sa illegal drugs na napainom kay Christine. Kaya gumawa muna sila ng paraan na masurvive ito. Pero natuluyan na talaga. About 7 to 8 a.m. patay na daw si Christine, sabi ng NBI expert. Kaya from that time, nagtatawag na sila ng mga koneksyon nila para magawa ng paraan at malinis ang krimen. Mahaba ang oras nila sa ginawang paraan kasi alas 12 pasado na sila kumilos at lumabas sa room. For sure, may nagturo na sa kanila kung anong dapat gawin sa bangkay. Kaya kunwari, pinasakay sa wheelchair na walang patungan ng paa at pagbintangan ito na doon at para di sila mahalata na nagbibitbit dahil alam nila na bawal galawin ng patay. Kaya kunwari, dalhin sa ospital para palabasin nilang dead on arrival na. At doon na nagumpisa na linisin ang lahat ng ebidensya. At nagsikilos na at pumunta sa hotel kasama ang mga pulis at ginilaw nila ang mga dapat ebidensya na sana yun. At pinasok nila na wala at di kasama ang soko na dapat mag-imbestiga sa hotel na kinamatayan ni Christine. Matalino pa sila sa matching dahil nauna pa silang nagpa-embalsamo agad para totally linis na ang mga ebidensya. Bago ma-autopsy, mas nauna pa silang nakakuha ng medical legal, kuno, kaysa pamilya Daceras at nilabas agad sa media para utuin at mapaniwala ang mga bobo at tangang netizens. Napakagaling nilang magpalusot, umarte, drama at magsinungaling at gawa ng kwento about Christine para sirain ang pagkababae. At pati sa interview, binago nila ang statement para di sila makulong at madamay at para lusot lahat ng nandun sa krimen. Ang salary nalata talaga na may cover up. Lalo na yung CCTV footage na putol-putol pa. At pag-reformat ng CP ni Christine, obvious na obvious lahat ng galawan na yan. May malaking tao sa likod niyan.
It is another the best rate policy.
I think it is. Although it's quite vast for it to be considered only a best rate policy, there's also a part in her comment that can be considered as an appeal to false authority.
Actually, can also be considered as conjunction fallacy. Conjunction fallacy is when more probable arguments are taken into account to make an up strong argument. Like for example, if the person who had said this comment and have only given one evidence, if his or her comment doesn't really support anything, or doesn't this comment and have only given to be true, the person might believe him or her.
I do get it. Like for example, if everything she said is actually truth, there are also probability that is not true. It's just a matter of how many probable arguments she have said to make the whole idea more believable than the rest of the other people comments.
I think I know this policy too. It's like when you say Christine de Serra is dead because of the bruises, but it can be more believable if she said that Christine is dead with bruises and because she remained unconscious for a long time. None of these were proven to be true at the moment when it happened. That is why it is a still policy. It can also be true if the statements were made by authorities and can be considered a policy if the arguments there said are incorrectly implied.
Moving on to our last netizen, comment we are got here. Mga pakalimero dapat sokong tinawag nyo mga gago. Yan ba ang walang alam sa nangyari kay Tin? Makakarma kayo mga gago. Hoy, gising, tablan sana kayo ng konsensya. And the second comment is, hello, she was already has passed away at 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. They have already studies how to totally wash away the all evidence ASAP. Wow, galing talaga nila. Wow, with those permission. Gago bulok ang system nyo lalo na yung involved on Christine. Wow, did you not study this all? Bulok mga gago. Number one, you are not to touch the body without the soko being there too.
We had some swear words there, but this is obviously an appeal to false authority.
How so?
Basically, because both of these comments mention about Soko or scene of the crime operatives, this Soko they're talking about is actually the most famous TV show that's been airing investigate docudrama series here in the Philippines. It's a wrong of us to assume that this they really meant by Soko, but this TV show is actually the most famous rather than the NBI themselves.
That's right. And it became an appeal to false authority simple because Soko is a TV show, not a legal investigate team or group in the Philippines. They do their investigation with the help of the forensics and the police. That's why they can document real evidence from cases.
Yes, and while people are busy arguing about this matter, Soko indeed did not to came to the scene because they're not the forensics themselves. Soko can still document this matter on their show if they want to, but only when the data is trusted to them by the police.
So much for stressing comments of the netizens and the introduction of not so common fallacies.
Well, you told us we are investigators today, right? And we did our best to analyze these comments of netizens on what it truly is.
Next up is an interview with our humble guest.
But before that, let's take a short break.
And now, we are back. Let's introduce our guest for today, Miss Merlin Lumantao.
Hello, ma'am. Please
Hello.
mention.
Okay. So, hello guys. It's been a while since I have talked to you, and it's been a while since I have since I have interacted with students like you. And I'm glad to be here. And I was invited by one of your classmates to to be interviewed with the topic about constructive criticisms, in which I believe you should have we should have a further discussion of what it really is and what should be clarified when it comes to the notion about constructive criticism. So, by the way, to introduce myself, I'm Miss Merlin Lumantao. I'm a professional teacher, and I have graduated from Our Lady of Fatima University 3 years ago with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Education, major in English. So, for just a brief background, I have taught foreign students as well as Filipino students for 3 years, and currently I'm not yet teaching. So with that, without further ado, let's start with our discussion with this one. Shall we?
Hello, ma'am. Hello,
Hello.
ma'am. Good day,
Yes.
ma'am. I am the one that's going to interview today. I am Bianca Erin Enriquez, one of the podcast speakers. So,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am, you have heard about our discussion a while ago about our main topic, which is constructive criticism. And we use Christine Dacero's case in order to be able to determine what is really the meaning of constructive criticism. Recently, there had been many people talking about this particular case, and some of their comments were inappropriate, as you have heard a while ago. These opinions are baseless and doesn't have enough evidence. That is why we considered to use some logical fallacies in order to reason out whether these comments can be considered as an opinion or actually a constructive criticism. Since most of these comments only rely on information and footage released to the public. So, ma'am, I'm going to ask you now, what are your insights regarding the netizens commenting on social medias without any basis or clear evidence?
Okay. So before I answer that question, can I just give a brief uh insight from what I have heard about the comments from Christine Dacero's case? This is quite a complex case, right?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, of
Mhm.
course. You can give your insight about it, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, these comments were quite said out of the spur of their emotions. That's why it resulted to them speaking about things that has no basis, and that's why they have provided such insights that are not that not based on the facts. So it's quite hard to it's quite a toxic thing to read these comments. I suppose that's why. When in fact, Christine Dacero's case has a whole bunch of public chaos. It's quite chaotic. This case is quite chaotic. Although investigations are ongoing or close or whatever the status is, this is quite complex. And people who are giving comments like this, from what I have heard, they are not in the position to say things because they are not there. First of all, they are not there, and their basis is only from the social medias, and their basis is from what they just heard from the news, from other social media platforms or whatsoever. And aside from that, some of them are quite pretending that they are professionals as if they are there, as if they know everything that what should have been done. And that's why I felt like it's, can I describe it as something that is quite cringe? So,
Yes, yes, ma'am. We're very skeptical reading those comments too when we are browsing those comments in Facebook.
yeah, that's right. So anyway, going back to your question, uh, let us have a distinct definition between a distinct difference between the constructive criticism and bashing. This is the thing that most of the people, especially Filipinos, are often mixed up. That's why. Um, so first of all, constructive criticism is an offering of a valid and well-reasoned opinion involving the positive and negative comments. But its intention, again, its intention is to help someone improve. That is the purpose of giving constructive criticism. Well, on the other hand, when we say bash or criticize with negative criticism, this is from the definition of the dictionary. It means to strike violently. So therefore, from how we use the word bashing today, it means to say something that it is intended to hurt someone, or it is a series of criticism that is usually hurtful to someone para uh, this is used para masaktan yung tao, para ma-offend sila, to trigger something inside them. not to help that person, but to trigger the range of emotion inside them. So, apart from that, this is the thing with the Filipinos, especially. They have they have a very less knowledge, or they don't pay attention much on studying or understanding logical fallacies, like what you have mentioned a while ago. So in here, we can see, or we can determine, or we can recognize that logical fallacies are important in our curriculum or in studying the language, because it enables us to come up with a better judgment about something. So when we talk about our opinion, it sounds good. It is backed up with evidence. It is based on the information that are legitimate or such. So that's why it is important that we study, and the students need to study, or even the netizens, not only the students but also the netizens, that they had to pay attention with studying or understanding logical fallacies. Why? Because it enables us to improve our communication skills. So when we post something on social media, it is not something just out of our emotions. We just spoke about our opinion just because we feel like it. It's not like that. It shouldn't have been like that. And the next thing about my answer, I'm sorry, this is quite long.
It's
Uh,
okay, ma'am. You can continue, ma'am.
Thank you.
Please share your knowledge with us, ma'am.
Sure, sure. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so for the next part of my answer, people are, if you can notice, I don't know if you can notice, they had forgotten to be held accountable, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. They are trying to voice out their opinions even without saying any evidence. They should be able to say something out of their research instead of just saying it just based on their emotions.
Yeah. And with that, some of them forgotten to have, especially when I had been on Twitter, and I have read about Christine de Serra's case, and most of the people there, uh, I have read their tweets and such about the case, and I have noticed that her friends who were involved in the incident were accused of rape, or accused of something, that they are so evil, they are demons, they are whatsoever. They're calling names. They're calling names of these
Yes.
people. They don't even know, until such time that the the result of the medical legal, or the, I'm not sure if what is it called in the criminology. The result of the investigation has been out, or has been leaked in on social media, and then they have been proven wrong, that it is not about the rape. It's not. It does. It's probably not because of the rape why Christine de Serra died or such. That's why. That's it. That's an example of being held accountable. Why? You are damaging the person's reputation. It is it's very a shameful thing to be accused of something that you did not do.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
That's why people just like to say things. They just want to call names to someone they are annoyed at. If you tell a lie, then it affects you. Why? People won't trust you. People won't believe you because you have told a lie once. Unlike when you tell the truth, or when you tell a sound judgment, it means to say that probably in the coming days you will be heard. You give a sound advice, you give a sound opinion, you give a sound reason using the logical fallacy, by taking or understanding the logical fallacy. So
Yes, ma'am. I agree with all of the things that you have said because I just remember this, ma'am. There is this golden rule that you should not do unto others what you don't want others do unto you. Like for example, if I call you some names and someday those persons that I've called names, they can also call me the same names that I've given to them because it can turn back to you. You're not just destroying their reputation, but also you're trying to destroy your own reputation. There is this also that story, ma'am, that is that about the fact that he's always lying to the villagers about what will happen, and then one day what he is trying to say, it really happened, but the villagers did not believe them already because he lied countless of times. Or should people also use this for everyday use? Like for example, if I'm just talking to my friend, should I also base my answers to him or her on facts, or is it normal to only give my own opinions to them?
Well, initially, it's fine that you have to give your opinion. However, we can we can ponder, or we can think about it, or reflect upon it. And if we have realized that we don't sound right with our opinion that we have previously said to that person, it's okay to admit that we are wrong. It's the hardest one of the hardest thing that a person is asked to do, to admit that they are wrong. But I think it's fine. I really believe that when you say something, let's say for example, your opinion is different from your opinion today about the same topic or same issue. It's okay that you have to change your opinion because you have learned something, because you have searched about something. And if your reflection or your thoughts have helped you to understand things about a certain issue, then it's okay to change opinions. It doesn't matter if what you have previously said is something that uh you don't have to stick with it. Why? Because it's something it's a nature of a person to not be contented with what they know. That it's okay to commit mistakes, when it's okay to have a general overview of your opinion that doesn't seem to be right at first. If that is the if there should be an opportunity to learn about it more, or dig deeper about it, and you have realized that, oh, it's wrong, it I didn't know about this, that's why I felt like my opinion is wrong. It's fine, but as long as uh, you don't publish it right away, or as long as your opinion is not is not being said out of your strong emotions, I think.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I do agree with you, ma'am. But personally, I think that if we are just talking to our friends, I think we
Yeah.
can also voice out our opinions as long as it will not hurt anybody or it will not hurt your friend. Like if you're just talking about your interests, I mean we have different interests, right? So I
Ah,
guess can also be okay if we are not going to base it on fact. Like it would be funny if your day to day conversation is going to be like, I like apples because apples is like this, like this, like this. So
yeah.
it would be funny because you keep on stating facts when you simply just like those apples. Okay, ma'am. So now we've cleared all those obstacles we have about constructive criticisms. And now, ma'am, if I'm going to ask you, how about you, ma'am? Do you remain unbiased towards your opinions as much as possible, and in what way?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, as a professional teacher, I am responsible for being unbiased at most of the time. Although there are things that we're quite biased with, or we have our favorites, right? We have our we cling to some sides, so some certain sides sometimes, right? That's why. But I think when it comes to serious matters, when it comes to different things that we need in which uh, fairness should come at play, then it would be a good. It is always a practice of mine to be reasonable as much as I can, And do not, this is what the habit that I have been practicing. I don't speak about something I don't know. It's quite frightening because, in the perspective of a teacher, we are always held accountable, especially because we are telling lessons. We're giving lessons, we are giving discussions, we are giving facts, statements, or whatsoever that is in accordance to the theories that we need to discuss with the students. We are always we should have been always accountable with what we are saying. That's why I don't speak about something that I haven't known yet or I haven't researched about yet, because it's quite most of some of the students, when they listen to their teacher's opinion, then most likely they would believe it because he simply because he or she is a teacher. That's it. And if some of you would come to the point of thinking of becoming a teacher, you would understand what I am talking about. That whatever I say, or let's say for example, whatever I say to you, or whatever I say to some other students, they would believe me most likely. Why? Simply because I am a teacher. That's why I don't like talking about things that I don't know and I'm not sure of. And that's why, if you can notice, I'm not that outspoken about certain issues, right?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, any last thing to say to our listeners? So,
Mhm.
aside from the last advice that you have said, I mean to just wrap up our interview with you, ma'am.
Okay. So, it if you can notice, this is the importance of studying or understanding what are the basic logical fallacies, so that because if you can as I have noticed, or as I have observed, a lot of students or a lot of Filipinos are not that good in communication because uh, they lack knowledge. I'm not belittling them, but something is missing in them, that they cannot communicate so well. They cannot communicate their opinions. They burst out of their they say something out of the burst of their opinion, something like that, because they lack something that should be practiced in terms of communication. They don't know how to use the proper words. They don't know how to use the right terms. They cannot put their opinions exactly into words. That's why we have to take emphasis on studying or enhancing your communication skills or their communication skills, so that when they are asked about something, they will be able to answer uh, in a good manner. They will be able to provide something uh, that is not prone to logical fallacies or such. Um, it's and another thing, when you tell your opinions, make sure that you don't involve your emotions. You are not um you are not influenced by your opinion. That's why you stand for something that is right, even though it's not the thing that you want to side with. Then it's okay to stand on something alone, but it's right, rather than stand with everyone, but it is wrong. Okay, that's that's it.
Okay, ma'am. It's a very, very pleasurable time to interview you, ma'am. We've learned a lot of things from you. The other podcast listeners were very proud that we have invited such a good guest that can talk about such this matter. Ma'am, we want to talk with you more, but we're kind of bit pressed with time. So, however, ma'am, it's nice meeting you, and your knowledge has made our listeners understand the importance of how heavy our opinions could be. Ayan,
Yeah.
ma'am, thank you. And to our podcast listeners, please stand by for a short break. almost done with our podcast. All that's left is summarizing everything that we have discussed today.
That's right. So far, we have discussed five logical fallacies that can determine whether the comments of some netizens were inappropriate or not. These fallacies are ad hominem, has the generalization, best rate fallacy, conjunction fallacy, and appeal to false authority. We have determined the most netizens' comments specifically for Christine Desera's case, which we have tackled today, doesn't have enough evidence to back up for what they're standing for.
Because of this, some of the fallacies we have mentioned help us to determine whether their comments are inappropriate or not. We have concluded that most of these comments for Christine de Serra's case are all criticisms, but only from their opinions back up with their emotions. They are not constructive criticism.
And again, if we talk about constructive criticism, it is a comment or a review of a person, but in a form of a positive reinforcement, supported by facts instead of just simply bashing or stating our own opinions.
We also learned from our guest, Miss Marilyn Lumantao, that if you try to speak ill of another person, you are not just ruining their reputation, but possibly their life too. We learned from her that whatever we say can always come back to us if we are not careful, and if we haven't researched enough about the specific matter we are talking about.
We also learned from Miss Merlin that we should try to be accountable for our own opinions, especially if we know that we are trying to touch a sensitive situation that can be possibly hurt other people or further hurt yourself too.
In this case, we recommend people, including us, to try thinking more about what we are saying. Be mindful of our own words. We don't have to be cautious all the time, since we also have our freedom to choose what will be our likes and dislikes.
However, along with this freedom of having our own rights, there will always be a counter responsibility. We should also try practicing giving a constructive criticism whenever we try to take a stand from a situation.
Thank you to our listeners, our amazing guest, Miss Merlin Lumantao, and to our production team. Once again, I'm Jill Cyrel Gumabon.
I am Mark Labita.
And I am Bianca Erin Enriquez, and this is Podcast FM 89.9, who just successfully uncovered the naked truth.